Hey guys, so yes, I know you read what the title says, and we have already done this before, but by the time this video is up, the original video will be taken down.
Because it was so cringy.
And this time we can actually go into full debate and not have a time restriction.
Last time we really had to rush the whole thing, so we didn't really get to properly debate or discuss it. But today we have plenty of time, so we figured we'd give you a proper, non-cringy version without a time limit.
So, welcome to Which is Better, episode 2.5.
Or 1.5, I guess.
No, it's 2 because...
Oh, right.
Episode 2.5, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Phantom Blood versus Battle Tendencies. And like last time...
I'll be defending Phantom Blood.
And I'll be defending Battle Tendencies. Alright, so starting off with the first category. The main character himself. The main JoJo.
Of each part.
So, for part 2, that would be, i.e. Battle Tendencies, that's Joseph.
And for part 1, it is none other than Jonathan. Who's the first JoJo.
And while, yes, I can see why people are partial to Jonathan because he's the first JoJo, I personally think that Joseph was a better JoJo. Not that I'm saying I don't like Jonathan as a character. It's just I prefer Joseph's dynamic compared to Jonathan's more gentlemanly era.
Meanwhile, I am the opposite. Although, yes, Jonathan is the first JoJo, that's not the reason I personally like him. Although I will say Joseph is my ultimate second favorite, and they are very close together, honestly, especially since we have gotten into
Part 3.
Part 3. Thank you.
She's gotten Part 3.
I finally got to Part 3. I will say I still prefer Jonathan the most out of all of them because he truly embodies, to me, what it's like to be a Joestar. Because not only is he a gentleman, but he also shows a lot of chivalry. Which, yes, all the JoJos who come after do have their moments of chivalry, heroism, and bravery. But I feel like Jonathan's the best example. Because, while all the ones who come after could be deemed as wild cards in one shape or form, Jonathan has the most composure, and the same could actually be said for his dad. I look up to Jonathan because he stands up in the face of danger, even if he knows he's going to get hurt. But he does it in a manner that's not derogatory? Would that be the word? Derogative to those around him. He still does everything in his power to keep a calm and proper demeanor, even with those who have done him a great wrong. To me, he really does show the proper form of heroism. Like Optimus Prime, really. Optimus Prime, he is another hero who's very chivalrous and never loses his cool. And if he does, it's very rare. Both of them are great heroes who defend those around them while also remaining a respectable leader and person for others to look up to. And I just find those to be very admirable qualities.
Meanwhile, Joseph, he's very much let's just put it this way, he's a massive troll. Like he'll pull a prank on you no matter what the situation. Serious, he'll pull a joke. He also is really intelligent. For most of part 2, he goes, he knows what the person's gonna do before he does it.
Or say.
Yeah. Your next line will be da 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 da, and then they say it, and Joseph's IQ is his best quality. Even in part 3, you haven't gotten that far in, but just from the way he is as a jokingly old man, you can tell.
Gosh. Oh, I know I'm defending Jonathan, but there's a reason why Joseph is still my second favorite. He has a lot of rambunctious wild moments, but he's a rambunctious wild card who knows how to have fun and is most definitely I don't know what you call them, but he is definitely a father's daughter. Is the best way I could put it.
I was gonna say he's a simp for his daughter, but that doesn't exactly apply. But he is.
He would die for his daughter.
And
but yeah, continue. Sorry.
And like Joseph, like we talked about this the last time. Yes, Jonathan had time, like to plan out each of what he had to do. In Joseph's part, literally everything he does is one after the other after the other. Like yes, he has a month to train, but like he has a poison ring on both his windpipe and around his heart. He has that, and the other.
Mouth thing that his
the hormone training from Lisa.
Like on his I don't know what you call him, like
it's kind of like a COVID mask, but not.
It's like it just ensures that he breathes a certain way, or else he can't breathe at all. Basically
for his hormone training, and like, and unlike, and I'll give Jonathan this. The way he went out was a smack in the face, and Joseph lived, but at the cost of losing his Joe bro, i.e. Caesar, which we'll go into later.
I really feel like Jonathan, out of all of them, Jonathan's the one who got done the most dirty. I don't know. I haven't watched the later seasons, so I don't know how it applies for them. But at least the rest of them all get to live to see their children grow up, from what I know. From the ones who do have children. Jonathan, he didn't get that chance at all. We see him as like this kind and caring person to everyone around him. And he even still respects Dio as a brother, or accepts him as a brother after everything. But like, he didn't get the same chance that almost everyone who came after him did. Even his dad got to see him grow up.
Which is why I actually think that the theory that Star Platinum is just Jonathan reincarnated, that holds water.
Yes. And it would give him a chance to see at least his descendants.
His grandson and his great-grandson.
Yeah.
And his great-grandson with Josuke. Like, that'd be great. Yeah. It would be like grand. So, gosh, this family tree is so convoluted.
It's like great-grand... Okay. Jotaro and Josuke are like great-grandchildren, because Joseph is the son of George II, who is Jonathan's son, and then Jonathan is the son of George I, who is also a proper bean.
And she hasn't seen part 5, but I've explained Giorno, who's the son of Dio and Jonathan, which take that other part 1 ships. At least John and Dio has a canon child.
I mean, hey, George II.
Right, but
George
the main JoJo. Who's the main JoJo?
Oh, yeah, true.
Okay, anyway.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Okay, next category, the love interest. Which, Arena versus Suzy Q.
You go first this time.
Suzy Q, okay, I'm just going to say this. I prefer Jonathan and Caesar. Mainly because...
You said Jonathan and Caesar.
Joseph and Caesar. Okay, but mainly because I don't like Suzy Q as a character. I just don't. She's too annoying. Like, she can even attest to this.
I will admit she's not the sharpest tack in the box, but you gotta admit she's sweet.
She is, but the woman has almost no character in part 2. She does in part 3, I'll give you that. But
in part 2, her character, the most character we see, like, her whole character is being sweet and helping people out while being a ditzy blonde. But the most character we see is at the end of it, where she's so
she
ditzy.
Forgets to tell Arena, Speedwagon, and the rest of the friends.
Hey,
Joseph's alive. Even though he clearly told you to do that.
But she does make for a great grandmother and everything, and at least you can give her the fact that, like Arena, she's a very kind and caring soul. And I believe Arena would attest to that, because she literally met her.
Mm-hmm. And we see Joseph with his artificer hand, because he has his hand cut off, which we'll talk about later during the villain category. And he's literally looking at her like hey, she's like, Joseph, nah, you don't want to do that. And, like, at that point, it's kind of justified. I don't condone hitting women. I said in the
I
last
don't
video.
condone hitting men or women.
But at that point, it'd be kind of justified. Like, his family thought he was dead.
Yeah, I'd be pretty ticked too.
But Jonathan wouldn't have done that. Like, he would have scolded Arena, most certainly.
But he wouldn't be like, twitchy, better run, glitch.
Actually, he would have just gone, yeah, you're gonna time to chase some hormone. And, like, would have used some of that to attack her. Like, in some way, shape, or form. Like, not all the way, of course. Like, he doesn't want to do...
Just, like, scared the crap out of her. Fly, witch!
Okay, anyways.
Sweet witch, though.
Now...
Wait.
For Arena.
Yeah, I mean, I love how we spent the whole part of Susie Q.
Just laughing. But then again, that's for her character.
It's like that. That's a good thing about Susie Q. I know we went so off topic with her, but it's like
that's kind of what she would do.
It's kind of like she's this really sweet, good grandmother. I actually believe she would even accept like her stepson, I guess.
Yeah, Joseph's son, Josuke, which
I feel like
when she gets to part 4, we'll cover.
I feel like she would accept him too, and everything,
as well as the invisible baby, which she's
and the
also
invisible baby. I feel like she would accept. I feel like she'd be like the most sweetest old lady, and like she would forgive Joseph, especially since it wasn't entirely his fault.
But it wasn't. Like,
I said it wasn't entirely. He kind of had to for a job, but
because of the Speedwagon organization. But we're going to that separately.
So that'll be another video, folks. Don't you worry.
And yes, I see where Joseph was coming from. He wanted to name Holly after Caesar, which is adorable. But he was petty at her for not letting that happen.
Yeah, but I don't personally. I don't think Joseph. He's a trickster, but he delivers his tricks appropriately. I don't think he would go that far over not being allowed to name the baby a certain thing. I feel like there's more to that.
And then Arena, on the other hand, as a character, I'll give you this. She is, in part 1, we see her, taking care of Jonathan, working herself to the bone.
Literally wrinkly fingers for days.
Nearly working her skin to the bone. Taking care of him when Speedwagon couldn't. But I still ship John a Speedwagon. John a Wagon. Joseph literally says in part 2, there's got to be something else going on there. And Arena goes, what are you trying to say? In her way.
But, yeah, with Arena, she definitely has more intelligence than Susie Q. We're sorry, Susie Q, but you are extremely ditzy and clumsy. But in the most precious, wholesome, understanding way possible. But Arena, she's just kind of, I think sort of in both our opinions, this is something we do agree on. Arena is definitely the more responsible one when it comes to things. Not to mention she's one killer grandma when it comes to raising her grandson.
Which we'll get into later.
She don't take no crap. As an old lady, she don't take no crap from nobody.
And I find it funny, Smokey literally says in part 2 that the Joestar family is now confined to just a grandmother and her grandmother and grandson, which at the time that was true.
Yeah.
But as the series goes on, it gets way more convoluted.
But sometimes in the best way possible. But Arena, she's smart, she's dedicated, she's hardworking. After all the crap she's been through, she don't take crap from nobody. She's a delicate soul with a pure heart who, honestly, she could be her... If this was a different type of series, she would be the main hero. She would be the heroine going off on her own adventures if the series was more lighthearted.
But unfortunately, the series is about the JoJo's and the curse that's placed on the family.
Yeah, it's definitely darker, but... Arena, to me, is the better one because not only is she a killer grandma and a loving soul who's dedicated to everything, but every time we see her, even when she's feeling down, she has the true spirit of a hero or a heroine. She truly embodies what it means to be a hero, to be there for those around you and to defend them no matter what. and to make sure that those after you grow up with a
Good heart and
good heart and proper attitude.
and I'll give Arena, like, I can't even argue for Susie Q at this point, but like Arena, like, you literally see her in the beginning part of part 1 when Dio kisses her. Literally, she is down in a river wiping the kiss off.
I would too.
Like, I don't get me wrong,
offense.
Dio. We'll get into Dio. We'll get into Dio, but
We'll get into the villains, yes.
but like there's the whole "it's me Dio" thing, and like Arena is so much of a boss. She's like, yeah, I reject the kiss.
I would rather wipe my own mouth with sandpaper.
Like, Susie Q would be flustered and probably would have smacked Dio for it.
Which would be bad A, you gotta admit.
Yeah, but like Arena is like, she was clearly in love with Jonathan at the time, and still is. Like, even to her death. Like, she stayed loyal to Jonathan, which is why she helped raise, she raised not only her son with help of Speedwagon. She didn't do it alone. She had Speedwagon there with him, but also raised Joseph alone.
Yeah.
In the memory of Jonathan. Like, that's, I'll give Arena this. She's a dedicated wife. I'll give her that. Especially since how little time she had with Jonathan while they were married.
Oh yeah, literally her final moments are saving a baby, saving another person's baby along with herself and her own baby. Even in the last moment she got to see her husband, instead of going to be by his side, she spends her time saving someone else's child and getting that baby to safety.
And, like, that's a great segue into the next category.
Yes.
The side characters. I.e. the Joe Bros, like, Speedwagon, like,
Zeppeli.
Mr. Zeppeli, and Caesar, as
Who
well
is
as...
a descendant of Zeppeli.
Which, honestly, like, we'll get into that as well. Like, that's also a convoluted thing.
Very convoluted.
And, okay, let's start... Actually, since I started the last time, you go first.
Okay.
With part 1.
I am defending... I'm not just going to be defending just Speedwagon, because Mr. Zeppeli... I'm going to defend, like, the main ones. I want to defend all of them, but I don't want the video to drag on forever, so I'm just going to defend the main 3. George, because even in death, he does help his son out to defeat Dio in a battle or two. And not to mention, he truly was a caring, loving father. He was just... He just
was...
strict about it. He was harsh. He admits himself he was harsher on his son because he knew what a great man he could be.
And Dio, like... Well, again, we'll get into this more when we talk about the villains. But, like...
And then, like, if it weren't... And then George... You can... Even but when Jonathan's a baby, you can see how much more of a caring person he is compared to Dio's dad. George truly loved his wife and child, and even though Dio's dad had originally was originally planning to rob him, George actually went to the prison to just give the man his ring. He literally gave the man who was trying to rob him his ring.
Caused his wife her life because she died in that crash.
Yeah. He literally, like, that just shows how pure of a heart George has. George could, I think that the reason why George gave that ring, in spite of the man trying to rob him, is he knew that times were tough on those around him. He wasn't one of those types of fancy people who just didn't care about those who didn't have it all. He truly, I believe that during the time he was alive, he truly did all in his power to help those who were less fortunate. That's why he gave Dio's dad that ring.
And why he took Dio in later on.
And why he took Dio in. Because he could tell that things weren't that great financially for that family. And he gave the ring in hopes that it would be used to give all 3 of them a better life. If only it came true.
Mm-hmm. And then, but if it hadn't been for that later on, Jonathan would never have met Speedwagon.
True. He never would have met Dio.
Would never have met Dio, would never have met Arena, would never have met...
One act of kindness led to so much. Then 2, I'm going with Mr. Zeppeli. Oh my gosh, I have to say he is literally to me that of all that I've seen, he's literally the embodiment of an anime magic man. He walks on water using Harmon. He flipping can heal wounds like it's nothing. He has so many cool powers, and he not only and instead of using them for his own selfish purpose, he literally uses them. He uses them to help others and teach Jonathan how to literally combat the ultimate evil at that time.
Though, and it's funny, like Hamon, like is made up to be like this great, all powerful thing. Meanwhile, it takes years to hone your craft. Like
Hey, the best of powers require the most dedication.
and it's kind of the same way with like say sous chefs, like in real life. It takes them years in order to get that right. And then like with Hamon itself, like it takes years of dedication. Like Lisa, for example, who's Joseph's mother.
Some people dedicate, like, we see every single character, not to interrupt you, which I probably did that a lot already, but, like, you see that every single character who's mastered Harmon had literally spent decades of their life doing so.
And I bring it up because Caesar, like, he grew up, like, thinking that both his grandfather and his father before him, like, abandoned him, but without him knowing, he was actually training his Hamon to try and stop the Pillarmen. And, like, he saw who he didn't know who was his father at the time, get sucked into the Pillarmen statue.
Yeah, his dad literally saved his life. Caesar felt alone. He felt like there was no one he could rely on aside from the other outcasts he made along the way. He thought his family didn't care, but they did. The only thing is he didn't know that
until too late.
Yeah, because his family wanted him to stay safe. And that's something that can apply to Mr. Zeppeli as well. We learned that he did that during the time of the show, he had a wife and children that he had to leave behind in order to do all that he did. And instead of going back home to down when things got rough, he stuck it out up to his sacrifice, just to ensure that Jonathan and the gang could be as prepared as they could be, the utmost prepared as they could ever be to face the ultimate evil. He sacrificed everything, his family, his life, everything he had going for him, just to ensure that everyone would have a chance to see a better tomorrow.
And then there's Lisa, who Caesar meets later, who we learn later on to find out that it's Joseph's mom. Like, it's a whole convoluted thing. Like,
very
like this whole story, from part 1 all the way up to the upcoming part 6. Like, there's a jumble timeline. Like, it goes all the way from the 1800s to, I think, currently the early 2000s.
Yeah, early 2000s. Third is, of course, the Magnificent Speedwagon, who I believe, for many fans out there, needs no introduction.
And is the best character of the show. Like, hands down, best boy.
Best boy, definitely. He's smart, he's sophisticated, he's one heck of a fighter with or without his magic hat of blades.
Though he should have learned Hamon. He could have very easily lived to part 3. Come on. Like, I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
If he would have lived to part 3.
On the bright side, at least he has magical chess powers.
Yeah, like that's something they never developed. Like, how does Caesar have that? How does Speedwagon have that ability?
I feel like maybe he learned a bit of Harmon. I mean, it's kind of hard not to learn something like that when you're traveling with people who are all mastering it. But he just didn't study it anywhere near to the links that they did. So he used the Harmon he had learned to
heat up
Mr. Zeppeli.
And also, can we just talk about how cute the ship John Wagon is? Like, I briefly brought it up earlier. But yes, Joseph, there was something more going on there.
There's something more going on all 3 ways. Probably. I don't know.
Okay. I had to do it. I'm sorry. Okay. But Lisa, she basically is the wife of Jonathan's son that Arena's pregnant with at the end of part 1. And she later goes on to be revealed as Joseph's mother, as well as his Hamon teacher for both him and Caesar. And, like, yes, the way she goes about teaching him is a bit unorthodox, but at the same time, it does help him hone his craft.
Yeah, I would kind of use unorthodox a bit more strongly, though.
Yeah.
Having your son be constricted to a specific breathing mask and a challenge.
Knowing fully well he has a ring around his windpipe and his heart.
And even if she didn't know that, based on that first challenge, which that was the first
The
one.
Hellflame Pillar.
She knew that thing could slice someone to ribbons. Like, why, she literally placed a restraint on something that was already heckish for people to accomplish without dying.
And, like, what if Joseph, like, had gotten hurt and, like, was about to fall? Like, was she not gonna, like, she knows.
Or, like, what if
she knew that was his son, that was her son.
Or what if his idea didn't work, or it slightly screwed up and he got shredded by the water blades?
She probably would have been even more devastated than when George died.
She risked too much.
Yeah,
but she had a good.
Yeah,
she truly did care, but she risked too much.
I'll say this: like son, like mother, like son is basically what I'm trying to say. And like Joseph, like he takes. That's one of his flaws is he takes way too many risks in part 2. Like half of what happens to him in that part, he brings on himself.
Yeah, but it's also part of what brings all the good things too. A lot of his risks, they're a risk-reward system. A lot of the risks he takes, some of the good things that happened would have never happened, but with others, some of the bad things would have never happened.
Like with we mentioned earlier with Jonathan, like he had time like between his like all the crap that happened to him.
But
like
Joseph had to do it on the fly.
Joseph was literally like
seat of his pants,
like smacked to the wall, like almost everything he had to do, like after another.
It was like he was strapped to a rocket heading towards a spinning blade.
It would eventually led to his hand being cut off, and which good segue into our next category.
Wait, did we actually talk about the ones from the other side?
Yeah.
Oh, right. We were just having like a conversation comparison.
And then, like this, like the first episode, this is just going to be fully open-ended. Like we're not going to pick an ending.
We're not picking an ending.
Picking a winner. This is for you to decide.
We do have like two sides and sharing our opinions, but
much of which we agree to. Like we agree on most.
We agree on a good bit of things, but we also disagree on things. You'll notice on things we agree a lot on, it'll turn into instead of being like more structured and two different sides, it'll be like a collaborative conversation of both sides merging together.
And now we move on to the villain, i.e. Dio for part 1.
And the Pillarman for part 2.
So, the Pillarman, for example, honestly, if they had ever met Dio, they would have destroyed him.
I honestly agree. Like, Dio was Strong Boy, and later on in the series, from my knowledge, he apparently might be even stronger than the Pillarman by that point.
But if we're talking specifically part 1 Dio, like just minus the vampire aspect.
Are we including, normal Dio? I feel like normal Dio would know he wouldn't stand a chance against them.
Even with the vampire immunity.
But it's like, I feel like by the end of it, normal Dio in part 1 is he's still super duper terrifying and strong, and he creates his own legion by himself. By the way, his own messed up, terrifying legion of evil and crap. So when it comes to building the foundation up, his is definitely stronger, it seems. But in terms of actual power, I feel like as strong as Dio is, he's still weaker than the weakest of the Pillarmen that we know.
Santana. Which is the youngest. Well, not the youngest, but the weakest on the totem pole.
Yeah, he's literally on the bottom of the totem pole for the 4 Pillarmen.
And then the other 3, who actually is
Epic Boy.
Who is actually the most sincere and genuine of the 3. Like he's got the
He's got the chivalry down pat. He loves a fair fight.
And you can tell how much he admires Joseph
He
in that
admires.
part.
I feel like with Wamu, he admires not only a fair fight and strength, but he also admires people's character.
Because even at the end, like Joseph, she mentioned in the last video, he literally injures his hand so that he can ease Wamu's death with his blood, like giving him a warrior's death or warriors,
which is something that everyone around him didn't do. Like the Pillarmen definitely have more of a close family relationship compared to Dio. They definitely show more
respect towards
each other, and they do treat each other as a family. Even after Wamu does die,
and ACDC's already dead.
And ACDC's already dead as well. Cars, when people start laughing at Wamu, even though Wamu straight up betrayed him, he still threatens them not to laugh at Wamu.
Because he's the father of.
He's literally raised those three. He's basically saying, "Don't you dare laugh at my children, or you're next."
He's like, I can make fun of them, but that's because I'm their father. Like, I've literally raised them from.
I know what
when
they
were younger. Like had AC/DC not been defeated by Joseph as well, he would have done the same thing.
Like, I feel like AC/DC would definitely, if AC/DC had been the second to die and died after Wamu did. Well, third to die.
Santana,
my apologies, Santiago. If AC/DC,
I think it's Santana, or whatever the
Santana, whichever. Sorry.
Anyways, you get what we mean.
Yeah. I feel like AC/DC would be on. I feel like AC/DC is like the perfect mix between Wamu and Cars. With a little bit of Santana. Like, he does have a bit of the wild side of Santana.
And AC/DC, we find out that he's very much he's very fragile. Like, he'll break at the drop of a hat for a second and then be completely fine.
He's like the one of the group that I literally, first time I saw him crying, even though I know I would probably die if I were to try to hug the guy, I just wanted to comfort him and be like, "Oh, it's okay, don't cry."
Like, when I first saw that, I was like, I'm sorry, what? You're supposed to be this warrior race of ancient people, and you cry over that?
He's a Cinnabon.
Yeah.
Technically, though, he did lose his arm, I think.
Yeah, and
the irony.
He's literally crying over his arm, and
then he just steals
and then just
the arm.
grows it back.
You gotta admit, though, I feel like AC/DC in that situation, if he had lived, he would respect Joseph the same way Wamu does, and I think...
Which, by the way, AC/DC, way to steal your brother's moment there. Wamu already puts the ring into Joseph, and then AC/DC's like, yeah, how about two? Boom, and then does it too.
I don't feel like he was still in the moment. I think that they've just been so bored for so long that it seemed like a great challenge.
Meanwhile, Cars in the back is just
children.
Which we'll get into in a second.
But I feel like, back on topic, I feel like AC/DC would be like Cars, where he's like, don't you dare talk that way about my brother, while feeling betrayed, but he would also respect.
And then Cars, for example, Cars is very much the ultimate being. He deserves that title.
Dio might sort of take it away, I don't know, in the later on.
In part 3 to now part 6, because he is the villain of part 6.
Literally, from my understanding, Dio literally got so powered. Dio, he is strong boy by the current season. He is strong boy. He is very strong, very evil, very powerful. And in a way, even just as a human, he was actually scarier than the 4 Pillarmen could ever hope to be. They may have been more powerful, but even Cars had morals. Meanwhile,
ACDC, I mean, no, Dio stands for nothing.
Dio
in part
literally has next to no soul, even for the two people who he may have given a crap about. George, because George was basically the only actual dad he had, he still poisoned the guy.
The same thing he does to his actual father.
Yeah, but he literally he poisons George, but like George seems to be less lethal. I don't know what to say, but it's like from what we see, comparing the death of his real dad to George, I feel like he went easier on George. But he still killed him. He still tried to kill the man. He was like the only guy who could ever be considered his dad.
And with Jonathan, he literally says in the final episode,
he respects
Jonathan
him.
is the only one he respects.
He literally, Jonathan and George are the only two people he could ever consider family, and Jonathan's the only one he could ever truly have respect for.
That's straight up a Miles Edgeworth from Ace Attorney moment there. The two people he ever cared about. One ends up backstabbing him, and then the other is betrayed by him. Is that not what Edgeworth, Von Karma, and Francesca are like?
Yeah. It's like, oh, and don't forget Phoenix.
True. Jonathan would be Phoenix in that point. If you think about it. And then, anyways, we were just watching the Ace Attorney anime, so that's why I brought it up.
We're very off topic, but at least this is less cringy.
And longer.
And this is my brother. Not actually, but he is my adopted brother.
And if you're wondering where we are...
Respect this bean.
And if you're wondering where we are, we're in my living room. We're not in my room.
Bean. This is my baby brother.
And to the last point, Cars is I'm not going to go into the fight they have between... which will be the next category.
The fight is so messed up.
The next category. But we'll go into that in a minute. But, Cars as a character... he's very held back at first, but then when he goes,
but when he loses everything,
when he does the hair reveal, and when he's the ultimate being,
he's no crap.
He goes all out.
He goes all out, tricks and everything else. He does everything he can.
Which is why part one Dio, he's a better villain than part one Dio. But that's not to say about part 3. We'll go into that later. Part 1 Dio, however...
And compared to part 1 Dio, actually, in a way, he's better than part 1 Dio. Because he does definitely show more morals. But if you're comparing the fights, comparing the two fights, I actually feel like Dio played more fair.
The next category... The last category, the fights. Let's go.
Fights!
So the final boss battle of the show, which, let's just get this out of the way. Dio, you did Jonathan dirty.
Did very dirty. But compared to the crap Cars did, that was fair.
Yeah, you at least gave him a choice in that. If he...
a proper choice that I think Dio actually would have kept his word.
Had Jonathan actually, let Dio do what he was planning to do. But
even the whole fight to me is super epic. You have all these awesome beings, all trying to team up and take the guy out. And he's just, turning them to stone or freezing them or whatever like it's nothing. He barely lifts a finger throughout most of the fight.
And then when he comes back as a severed head later on, he's literally, he has an assassin there with him to literally kill Jonathan instantly. And that's, Jonathan barely has enough time to send Arena off before it happens.
Yeah, even when Jonathan, even during the fight where Jonathan does manage to slice him in half and all that junk.
He literally,
instead of just ouch, that hurt, or
he puts himself back together.
He literally does this, and then
here's, okay, Jonathan's blade goes through him.
All the way through. If
all
I
the way down
remember
to
right.
all the way down to his
Yeah,
chest.
all the way down to his chest. Yeah, he's just like flop, flop. Oh, thank you for the haircut.
Yeah, that's literally the mentality. And then like after he gets his head chopped off and is hidden in the second coffin, which yes, there's a second coffin, beginning of part 3, and then
Dude, he literally plans things out after he flippin' dies.
like there's like that's one of the reasons I'll give Dio this. He's crafty. He's crafty. Like that's why he's lasted as long as he has.
I feel like he has as many backup plans as Joseph and AC/DC do. Like I feel like if I think it would take both Joseph and AC/DC working together
To take him down fully.
to take him not only take him down fully.
Although there is Eyes of Heaven, which we'll get into.
Well, yeah, Eyes of Heaven. I feel like it would take both of those two working together to be even just 1 to 3 steps ahead of Dio because of how far Dio goes.
Meanwhile, with Cars, like yes, he gets what he wants at the end. Like he wanted to be the ultimate being. Like, and the fight between Joseph and like Cars, like has him not only end up on top of a volcano as it erupts, but remember?
Yeah, I remember. I'm just listening.
And then, like, I wasn't trying to cut you off. No point.
I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, okay. And then, like halfway through the fight, you literally see like Cars cut Joseph's hand off, and
The only one to do something like that to Joseph thus far.
and you see like he's still like but shout out to the German scientist guy.
Stroheim.
Von Stroheim.
Von Stroheim.
And like he gets an honorable mention of the back at the category.
Yeah, like Von Stroheim. He may be working for like the German Nazis during the flipping World War, but he has morals.
He's the best boy. He's best boy.
He still has morals, and he has a true love for his country, to the point that. By the way, this video is full of spoilers if you haven't guessed already. To the point that when he does finally die, he dies in battle, going all out, screaming, "For Germany!"
And literally,
or something like that.
German is the scientist is the most superior in the world. I think it's the last episode.
Yes, I think that's the last thing he says.
And then, like, Cars wanted to like live forever. Then when he gets blasted up into space,
he does get what he wants, but he loses everything.
He literally stops thinking.
He basically
becomes stone.
He becomes a brain dead piece of rock.
And like he'd hoped for an asteroid to break him up, and
literally he out of all of them, he's the only, from my knowledge, he's the, aside from Dio and the whole situation where he wanted a new body, he's the only one to really get what they want. But he realized too late that what he wanted wasn't as worth it as he thought. To the point that the whole time he was floating alone in space, he actually wished for death.
And like that's different to like other villains that came after him, like say Yoshikage Kira, part 4.
Is that the guy who chops off hands or something?
Yes. He literally would have won had he not been crushed by the ambulance.
Irony.
You wanted a normal life and you get taken out by an ambulance. But that's a conversation for another video. Yeah. But for right now, honestly, like that, it feels nice to actually be able to fully do this properly. Discuss it.
Like, it's 44 minutes, but it's 44 minutes in which it's worth it.
In which we actually fully can debate and not have to go halfway through. And back to what we were talking about with Speedwagon before we wrap up. Speedwagon, you can tell when he's interacting with Joseph in part 2, he's seeing Jonathan.
He sees that Jonathan and Joseph, and like he sees what a good person Joseph is.
And Arena more than likely is as well when they interact.
Yeah, but they also see Joseph for himself though.
Like, cause I
They
have to
see
give
the
Joseph
good
this.
of him for Jonathan, but also the good of him for himself.
Like Joseph, like he very much has Jonathan tendencies, like about him. Yeah, he's his own person, but he has tendencies of Jonathan, much like Jotaro does to Joseph.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this was so fun to do.
And now that we got that out of the way, once we finish showing her both part 3 and part 4,
We will do part 3 and
we will
part 4
do
then.
Stardust Crusaders and Diamonds is Unbreakable. So, without that being said, thank you guys so much for watching.
Comment who you want down in the bottom
You can
below.
decide the winner.
Decide the winner.
Like with the first episode, we're not choosing one. Because we actually didn't decide, choose a winner for that one, did we? Because that was compared to Shark Tale.
Literally, although these are debates and we're supposed to be going against each other, there's still we still agree.
We agree on a lot, actually.
On certain things, so it's not only just a debate. It's less of a debate, but more of a discussion of our own opinions and comparing them to each other's. So although it still holds water as a debate, it's basically
it's more of a discussion.
Fanboy, fangirl discussion of our favorite interests.
Sorry.
Yeah,
all right.
Okay.
Anyways, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed and have a day.